This is Gerson Borrero, and I'm with Hupfl, actually representing City and State here, New York, at what do you call this place? Albany. I'm adverse to even pronouncing the name. I don't know how you stand this place.
It's budget season.
It's
Everyone's
budget season.
Yeah,
it's a little crazy. So we're into the 28th SOMOS Conference, and we have with us, actually opening up this live streaming of City and State TV, Assemblyman Marcos Crespo from the Bronx, who I think is the youngest chairman of the New York Puerto Rican Hispanic Task Force, and which also oversees the conference. So I don't know whether to congratulate you or give you my condolences, but welcome to City and State TV.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here and to chair, the SOMOS Conference. It's a wonderful coalition of legislators and Latino leaders who come together to just figure out ways to better serve our community. And I appreciate the work that City and State has done reporting on those issues. You did a great job in Puerto Rico, and now once again outdoing yourselves here in Albany.
Now you're taking a break. I know Ashley has at least one question about the budget process. So go ahead, Ashley.
Obviously, you're wearing a DREAM Act pin. So what do you think the chances are of the DREAM Act this year? And are you hopeful that it'll pass?
We're pushing like never before. Obviously, the dynamics are not very different from where we were last year. The governor, except that this year the governor put it in his budget, tied it to other proposals like education investment tax credit, the increase in the foundation aid, and a few other provisions. I think at the 30-day amendments he tied it as well to the overall TAP amount. And so, the approach is a little bit different on his part, but the politics remain the same. We have difficulty in the Senate. The Senate majority continues to oppose very publicly the bill, although we believe they're making a mistake, not only a political mistake, but a moral mistake and an economic mistake. This is about an investment in a community, in a group of young people who are talented, who live in our neighborhoods, who go to our public schools, who are making an investment already in their primary education, and who I believe can be that next generation of leaders in our economy. And so whether you look at it for the morality of it or the economy of it, it's the right thing to do.
So the argument hasn't changed. I'm jumping off of what Ashley just asked you, but I've got to tell you that the narrative on this side, that is the legislative side, and also in the Senate, is still the same. What is it that the governor is going to get differently? Is he going to understand? Did he learn Spanish or something? Are you going to communicate in Spanish?
The wonderful thing is that we have many co-sponsors of the legislation who are not Latinos, who don't even speak a word of Spanish.
Okay.
Actually, the governor could probably outdo them on that.
Right.
But look, I think it was an important step for him. In past years, we were critical of the fact that he was very ambiguous about his support. This year, not only has he said it during the campaign trail, he pronounced his support for it, but then he came in and tied it into his budget proposal. Look, the politics continue to be the Senate. Well, we like the governor to kind of do what he did with gay marriage, to do what he did with the SAFE Act, and maybe work his magic through that conference. Absolutely, we're pushing for that. But look, we need to get the bill done. For us, it's a primary concern. We don't want to wait until the Senate Democrats take over the majority. We believe that the bill should be done now, and we're going to push until the very end. I know the Assembly continues to spearhead that initiative under the leadership of Carl Hasty and Francisco Moya and so many others.
Go ahead, Ashley.
School funding or college affordability is a much larger issue as well. Do you think that if the DREAM Act was passed, you would continue to fight for more college affordability?
Absolutely, no question about it. I think we have to look beyond just issue. The DREAM Act is one proposal. It's a piece of a larger puzzle, and you're absolutely right. We have allowed higher education, like healthcare and other primary basic needs, to become big business, and we've allowed it to get kind of out of hand. When you're leaving college with a degree that's already amounting to a mortgage before you ever bought a house, it's a problem.
Trust me, I know.
It's part of the reason. It's part of the reason why we started off this conference. I held a press conference this morning talking about the poverty levels and the increased number of children living in poverty across the state. We have to look at these issues holistically, and we have to begin to make serious commitments in our budgets, not only this year but in the future.
Assemblyman, you're talking all this. The governor is dealing with the budget, but you also were at 3 o'clock. I hear there was a reception at the governor's mansion in which the governor welcomed you and bestowed accolades on you and all of that stuff. Is that meant to soften you up? Because you have in City and State the SOMOS issue. You actually wrote a very strong piece, op-ed piece, about you can't come and talk to us about that you don't live in the area, that we have jobs. You're the first person I see heading this conference that actually takes us serious. I mean, out the gate, you're saying we need jobs and we don't want to hear any more excuses.
I have learned, in my short tenure, and because of mentors that I've had, I've learned that in this business, the business of politics, you earn respect by standing strong on your convictions. We have serious issues that what really hurts is that we can go back 20 years from now and look at the rhetoric, look at the talking points of our champions in the past, and it's a lot of like what we would still say today. And that has to change. To the governor's credit, look, we disagree on a number of issues, and I've shared that with him. He welcomed the Bronx delegation. We gave him, our 2 cents on a number of his initiatives. I disagree with his proposal on teacher evaluations because I don't think it takes into account the totality of the real socioeconomic issues that children bring to the classroom that impact achievement, and instead of just blaming teachers for that. However, I've also, applauded him when I believe he's right, and I believe the education investment tax credit can bring opportunities to our kids. I believe we have enough funding in our budget to do right by foundation aid and make a strong investment in our public schools to meet the CFE. But again, these are just part of a bigger puzzle. The governor's done some good things. You look at the Bronx, the Department of Labor has done some great initiatives working with the borough president. We have brought the unemployment rate to single digits. That is an incredible accomplishment in a short period of time. What we're suggesting to the governor and the legislature, and I mentioned this to him, is that those initiatives, we should be proactively bringing those to all of those communities that are seeing that poverty level, that need support. We have growing Latino minority communities in upstate New York. This isn't just a Bronx issue anymore. This is a state issue. And even this year, lastly, in our conference, when we discussed this, what's really amazing to me is that the conversation about bilingual education, resources for immigrant communities, refugee communities, started not with minority members, not Latino members. It was Caucasian upstate members who got up and said, this is important to me. So the dynamic is changing. I believe the governor's done some good things. We need him to be stronger on others, but we'll continue that fight. My convictions will not go away, Gerson.
Before we go away, and Ashley will have the last question, and thank you for your time, I really urge you to go to SOMOS, the City and State Special Edition, and read Assemblyman Marcos Crespo's piece. It's pretty strong, doesn't pull any punches, uses numbers in a very creative way. So I want to congratulate you, one, because of your youth and you're leading us into a new phase of new elected officials at the state level, but also it took courage to put that in writing. And if you've had the conversation with the governor, and you're still alive, that's pretty good. Ashley, do you have one last question?
I do. You brought up an interesting point about how upstate politicians are caring more about New York City. To my knowledge, it wasn't always like that. Have you seen a big shift in more of like a...
I think so, absolutely. Not only because demographics in some of those communities is changing, and it's changing the dynamic in terms of what the priorities are, but I think that we have a generation of elected officials who understand that you can't solve the problems in the state of New York just thinking very subjectively about your community. We have to look at statewide initiatives. We have to look at a broader agenda. We have to understand the dynamic. There can't be a fight upstate, downstate. We have to look at it as a team play. And I think, I'm very proud of the delegation of leaders that we have in the task force. We're heavy centric in the city, but we're going to look to do initiatives. We're going to go and bring this conference to upstate New York. We're going to go to Buffalo. We want to go to Rochester. We want to go to other cities where, the Latino community is growing, and share ideas with them and work with them as we continue to empower our neighborhoods. But you're absolutely right, and it's a great thing to see, and that we all start caring about each other's issues.
Great. Well, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Assemblyman Marcos Crespo, good luck, and I'll see you out on the dance floor. Oh, there you go, the front.